Big breaking news in Baltimore, Maryland. Adnan Syed, the man whose case was the subject of the Serial podcast and an HBO docuseries, the man who lost his last appeal for the murder of his girlfriend in 1999, has now been set free. A judge in Baltimore has overturned his conviction, and it was the prosecutor who requested it. Tonight, all the dramatic developments in this unbelievable turn of events.
Since the inception of my administration, I've made it clear that the sole mission of my office is to safeguard communities in Baltimore through the effective prosecution of crime.
This hour of closing arguments starts right now.
Since the inception of my administration, I've made it clear that the sole mission of my office is to safeguard communities in Baltimore through the effective prosecution of crime. And in order to fulfill this mission, our prosecutors have been sworn to not only aggressively advocate on behalf of victims of crime, but when the evidence exists, to exonerate those that have been falsely accused and convicted. The public must know that the justice
All right, so while you have the prosecutor, Marilyn Mosby, trying to take a victory lap for setting Adnan Syed free, Adnan Syed walks out of the courthouse and steals all her thunder with the thunderous applause. Everyone's talking about this case tonight, and I'm wondering what just happened? What just happened? Let's bring in the think tank. Join us tonight in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. Criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Al Wunsch III is with us. In Stamford, Connecticut, criminal defense attorney Darnell Crosland, and in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, family law attorney Jennifer Brandt. Great to see everyone tonight. Al, I listened to the prosecutor. She gave a great closing argument for the defense. It was amazing. I don't understand what just happened here. Do you understand what has happened here?
Not a clue. I have no idea what happened. It just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I've never seen anything like that happen before. I can't even comprehend how that happens as quickly as it did. It's you know, what we would say a Christmas mirror.
Yeah, well, part of the problem that I have with all this is that there's no consultation with the victim's family. Just kind of forgot about them last minute. Both the prosecution and the judge treating the victim's family very inappropriately, by the way. Darnell Crosland, the allegation here is that there was a Brady violation that was uncovered during this investigation that was done hand in hand by the defense attorney and someone from the prosecutor's office. However, in the investigation of the Brady violation, they never speak to the person they're accusing of the actual violation. What kind of investigation is that?
Well, for one, it's not really for us to do the investigation here. What we have to remember is a couple of things. One, the court held the 8th Amendment prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment in Miller versus Alabama, which said that to give mandatory sentences to juveniles without the possibility of parole was unconstitutional. So I think we have that in the backdrop where this guy did 22 years already as a juvenile, possibly in violation of Miller versus Alabama. Secondly, when it comes to the Brady violation says United States versus Maryland, United States of Maryland versus Brady says that any information that could exonerate an individual should be turned over. So if that meant that.
We don't know if it was turned over. We don't know if it was made available. The original defense attorney, dead. The prosecutor in the case, never spoken to in this year-long investigation. If you wanted to find out, hey, did you guys turn this over? Wouldn't you ask the person who was supposed to turn this over?
Or you look at the file. And so when you look at the file, the judge...
Do they have phones? Do they have phones?
No. Look at
It's going to take more than 5 minutes.
I don't trust prosecutors. Everybody's upset tonight because a judge ruled on the side of the prosecutor. The prosecutors whose side the judge is on tonight. And we're still upset. I'm typically upset because the judges always go to the prosecution and don't care what the defense has to say. Now they're giving the prosecutor what they want. And the prosecutor's saying that the other prosecutor messed up, that the other prosecutor and the police officers messed up. And so that's what we're dealing with tonight. And Prosecutor Feldman said, I lost confidence in the integrity of this conviction and believe that it must be overturned immediately. And therefore, the prosecutors who are responsible for policing the other prosecutors felt that something was wrong here. And we got to take them at their word.
Okay, but do you, Jennifer Brandt, do you think you want to hear from them maybe and find out what happened? I mean, the people looking at this file weren't there 23 years ago when all this happened. They weren't there at the trials. How about asking the prosecutor who tried the case? How about contacting the Attorney General's office to let them know what you're doing here?
Yeah, how about that? And how about the victim's family and the victim who's gone? I mean, what happens now? They don't do anything. No one takes responsibility for this crime. We don't know what happened, and it seems like it was just a very hasty decision to all of a sudden say, okay, we're letting him out of jail, and oh, by the way, we may retry him. There may be other people out there. We're not going to talk about who they are. We have no other evidence that someone else did it. So where's the victim left now? Where's the victim's family left? They didn't even have a chance to respond. We just heard that before, that they got last minute warning. They didn't know much before any of us did that he was getting out. So I just think this is crazy.
Al, do you go ahead, Darnell, go ahead.
No, just real quick. There's a saying that it's better for 100 guilty men to go free than for
come
one
on, Darnell. Oh, come on. What about the victim? What about the victim?
I'm going to tell you about the victim.
Justice?
I work with victims every day. I'm going to tell you. So with the victims, it's like checking a box. You must, even when I do a motion for modification, there's a box. You got to send registered return receipt notice to the victims. They don't run the bus. They don't drive the bus, but you just have to check the box and send it out to them. But they don't drive the bus. So here, this gentleman's still on GPS. He's on house. He's on house arrest.
We don't know if he's innocent. What if he did do it, Darnell? Then you're letting someone who's guilty out. I mean,
why have him in jail and then find out? Oh, I'm sorry. Like so many other men who find out 30 years later who are innocent. What do we say then, Jennifer? I'm sorry.
Can I be the voice of reason here?
Al, why don't you hold that thought? I think what we need to do here is take a break. When we come back, though, what I want to do, if they let me, is continue talking about this story. This is a big story tonight. Adnan Syed has been set free. Was the victim's family compromised here? Were they treated right? How about the prosecutor who did it? She was supposed to be on trial today, accused of a crime. Is she in the right position to be letting convicted murderers out? Let's talk about it when we come back.
Since the inception of my administration, I've made it clear that the sole mission of my office is to safeguard communities in Baltimore through the effective prosecution of crime. And in order to fulfill this mission, our prosecutors have been sworn to not only aggressively advocate on behalf of victims of crime, but when the evidence exists, to exonerate those that have been falsely accused and convicted.
That is the prosecutor speaking on the day the judge fulfilled her request to vacate the conviction of Adnan Syed. Big story today. But we're not talking about an exoneration here. We're not talking about a prosecutor who came out and said somebody else did it. The wrong person was convicted. This is a prosecutor asking for a murder conviction to be vacated based upon the fact that, well, maybe somebody else did it. Maybe somebody else did it. We're not sure. We're not sure. We're not sure if he's innocent or guilty. Let's bring back in the think tank Al Wunsch, Darnell, Crosland, Jennifer Brandt, all with us. Al, This is different. Like we hear about these exonerations all the time. This is not an exoneration. They did not come out and say the wrong man was convicted. They came out and said, well, maybe he didn't do it. I don't know.
Hence the reason why it's odd that he was released the way he was. I mean, you're right. If it had been the DNA came in and it was somebody else and we've got proof of this, he could not have been there. He could not have been the person or whatever the situation is. That's fine. Okay. And that's you know, take the shackles off and open the barn door and let him out. But in this instance, all they're saying is that there's reasonable doubt. I mean, and this is on a murder charge. I mean, you would ordinarily not be given bail on a murder charge to begin with. So they're releasing this man. They're allowing him to leave. They leave right from the jail. You don't even know how odd it is for a prisoner to be leaving directly from the courtroom. It rarely, I have never seen it happen in 33 years as an attorney. In Bergen County, you go back to the jail or whatever, you know, county you're in, you get processed, you get released. And the victim generally gets notified that they're being released and given time to deal with that. Because especially in a case like this, I mean, I don't think I'd be too happy if I spent 23 years in prison and I was wrongly accused of something, okay? Or if I did do it, I might still want to exact some form of revenge in this type of a situation. It is not, this is just a very ironically bizarre story involving a very bizarre prosecutor who, as you said before, is already up, has her own charges she's facing. And how interesting is it on the day that she's supposed to be in court answering her own charges, she's doing something like this, trying to get the community behind her so that she's going to be able to say, this is a persecution of me because I'm trying to do the right thing. I have never seen someone released based on this kind of a situation ever. And I don't like seeing it now.
All right, Al used up everybody's time in this segment, but he was owed it. He was owed the time this time. All right, everyone's staying with us. We got much more. Don't go anywhere. But before I go, I got to let you know about a trial that's on our docket. Georgia versus Marcus Wilson. The sentencing tomorrow, September 20th, involuntary manslaughter. He claims self-defense. They tried to get him for felony murder. He's facing 1 to 10. That's coming up tomorrow. We'll be right back. Unbelievable twist of events in the case of Adnan Syed, the subject of the Serial podcast and, of course, the HBO docuseries. He's been set free. He's I guess, at home right now, doing whatever you do after 23 years. Al, Wunsch, Darnell, Crosland, Jennifer Brandt still with us as we try to make some sense of all of this. All right, Darnell, let me put this up on the screen. We've got the some of the reasonings for the motion to vacate filed by the prosecutor in this case. The Brady violation, it was reported to the state that one of the suspects had threatened to kill the victim and provided motives for that threat. Okay. If that was not given to the defense or not offered to the defense, then it would be a Brady violation. Big problem. The big question, though, is was it or was it not? The investigation into this Brady violation did not include an interview with the actual prosecutor from the case when it happened. Here's some of the new evidence they talk about. The location of the victim's car was located directly behind the house of one of the suspect's family members. New information, one of the suspects without provocation or excuse attacked a woman in her vehicle. New information, one of the suspects engaged in serial rape and sexual assault, although I don't think this was a sexual assault. New information, one of the suspects engaged in violence against a woman known to him. New information, one of the suspects was improperly cleared as a suspect. All of that means absolutely nothing to me. That's like blah, 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 blah. That's reasonable doubt arguments that would never get you a new trial, would never get you anything. It might work at trial if you have a good lawyer like Darnell Crosland who can convince a jury that that's reasonable doubt. But it's all about the Brady violation from my perspective. Darnell, your thoughts? Is it the Brady violation or is it all of this stuff that is the reason why he's home tonight?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all of it. So the whole idea of Brady is that if the prosecution has evidence that would tend to exonerate means to show the person's innocent. They should reveal that. And we also have to think in hindsight, if the jury had information that would tend to exonerate and they didn't have it, that means he wasn't exonerated. So now we say to ourselves, 22 years later, do we continue to take the chance and go forward and have a wrongfully convicted individual stay in jail? Or do we do something about it? And justice is an active thing. It's something you do. You don't just think. And so in this particular case, the judge found we'll go ahead and let him out now, have him on GPS, home monitoring, and then we'll examine where do we go from here. At least to stop some of the injustice.
Right, but can we be honest? Can we be honest tonight? And let's see if everyone agrees. There will be no new trial for Adnan in 30 days. They have 30. There will be no new trial. The prosecutor herself gave the closing argument for the defense today. No other human being on earth could be tried for this murder because Adnan Syed in that trial is the definition of reasonable doubt. Right? I mean, there's not going to be another trial, is there? Does anyone here think there's going to be another trial for Adnan or anyone?
Well, Vin, if Marilyn Mosby is out of office in 4 months and the Attorney General or maybe her associates want to bring the trial.
30 days they have. They have 30 days to make the decision. She's making the decision. She's not going forward with it.
Well, then we're arguing two things. We're arguing whether, in fact, the judge was correct in saying, you guys presented me this evidence. Now, when you've done this, I have to make a decision. I decided we're going to put him home. Now, if the prosecutor's office doesn't want to do anything, then that's two different shows. We have the show that Marilyn Mosby behaved appropriately here. Is the fix in for some reason? That's different than whether the judge made the proper decision or not. So I could hear you on that.
Jennifer Brandt, there's not going to be another trial for anyone in this. No one's going to be tried.
That's right. That's right. And so he just walks free. We don't have anyone else who necessarily did the crime. And it just seems so bizarre that, okay, I mean, if there was a Brady violation, that is a problem. But at least ask the prosecutor, at least go back and do some investigation, at least try to find out if indeed that did happen. But where we stand today, they just all of a sudden throw up their hands and said, oh, well, there could have been someone else out there that did this crime. We don't really have great evidence for that. So we'll just let him go home. And, oh, well, that's what we're going to do. It just seems like there is something political going on. And I disagree with Darnell. But, Darnell, wait, I disagree with you because it's not about an innocent person sitting in jail. We don't even know if he is innocent. So what, should we just let people go because there's a chance that they might be innocent? I don't know.
I respect your position. But you got to remember that Jeopardy doesn't attach here. So, Vinnie, when you say there will be no new trial, with murder is the only crime that has no statute of limitation. And unless Jeopardy attaches, then he could always be brought back. So if the powers that be do some investigation and they find new evidence that says he is guilty, there's no Jeopardy here.
Right, I get it. Al, you get the last 20 seconds. Go ahead, close it out.
Okay. But, I mean, he didn't necessarily just walk free. He did serve 23 years in prison. So, I mean, he did pay a penalty with regards to whatever happened here. But giving the state 30 days is almost impossible to put a new trial together, especially with a case that's as old as that case. It was going to take a hell of a lot more time than that. Bottom line is, justice has not been done. He should still be sitting in jail waiting for a new trial. So,
Al Wunsch, Darnell Crosland, Jennifer Brandt, awesome job tonight. We appreciate it. And again, folks, I have no idea if he did it or if he didn't do it. We'll be back.